What a Parent Might Say by Wayne L. Parker. Welcome home, son. We're glad to have you back safe and sound. Well, physically sound, at least, since it appears that you suffer greatly from some emotional burden, something about which you cannot speak, and I, having never been in combat, cannot imagine. If these heavy, seemingly unbearable feelings are caused by something or things you've done during the war, please listen to what I have to say. Your decision to join the military was not yours alone. We all participated in it. By we, I mean not just your family, but your friends, community, really the entire nation, which over the course of your life instilled in you a sense of patriotism, willingness to sacrifice for your country and our freedom. And these are all good things. Where we made our first mistake, I believe, is in our belief that at 18 years of age you were a man. I don't mean to belittle you, but think about it. In order for a person to be president of this country, he must first have attained the age of 35 years. 35! Because it's believed that until someone has lived and learned for at least that long, they can't have a firm enough understanding of themselves, the world around them, and how to conduct themselves in it to be trusted with such great responsibility. 35 years old. And you were 18 when you joined the Army. You were by no means a child, but you still had a long way to go to become a complete man. Had we not opted for your enlistment in the service, you might have grown up in a peaceful environment, among friends with whom you would have explored, learned about life in a way in which it was safe to experiment and make mistakes, learning, growing all the while. You would have had role models, your parents, friends' parents, teachers, coaches, employers, local business people, others who, as you would have been doing, grew up in safe, healthy, nurturing environments and became good people. You would have had the chance to grow into a good man. But instead, we decided that the best thing would be for you to join the military. Unfortunately, the only environment and role models you had were all geared toward one goal, not to make you a man, but to make you a soldier. These people, and I mean no dishonor or disrespect to them, did not have your best interest at heart when they offered themselves to you as leaders and mentors. Their loyalty was to the military, to the government, and they had thousands of years' worth of knowledge about wars and human nature to bring to bear in training you to be what they needed you to be. A person who would trust and respect his chain of command, love and protect his fellow soldiers, and most importantly, unquestioningly obey orders. And you did well. You became one of the best soldiers ever. And then you and your unit were sent to war. I suspect that is where things went really wrong. Perhaps you found yourself faced not with an opposing army, but with everyday people trying to go about their business. And then with one thing leading to another, killing started. And you quickly found yourself being shot at or bombed by people you didn't know. And so naturally you shot and bombed back. I suspect that when you first engaged in these actions, you may have briefly questioned the morality of what you were doing. But when bullets and bombs are flying at you and all around you, philosophical intellectualizing is probably not a very high priority. Perhaps at some point in your deployment you wanted to voice your concerns to your command. But you noticed that when other members of your unit tried to do that, they were met with scorn, derision from your superiors. And not wanting to be looked upon as a sissy, suffer ridicule and ostracism, things that can be dangerous, not just to your safety, but to that of the unit, you decided to keep your feelings to yourself and endure the moral dilemma for the duration. You decided to tough it out as a good soldier would. Being isolated in that environment, surrounded by your buddies and commanders who were likewise toughing it out, made the situation just about bearable. But now you're home, and that supportive environment, however perverse and negative it may have been, is gone. And you're faced with your feelings and people who love you but can't truly appreciate what you're feeling. Son, if any of what I've been saying rings true, please understand that just as the entire nation was involved in your decision to go to war, we are all equally responsible for whatever you did while you were there. We can't deny that you were the individual who committed the act, but at the same time, we have to acknowledge that we, with our ignorance and well-meaning but misguided intentions, created the situation in which you found yourself doing the things you did. You may be thinking to yourself that there were times when you actually enjoyed doing what you now look upon with horror and regret. I suspect that's entirely possible and understandable. Although only you can truly know what combat situations are like, I suspect that what happens there might be characterized as unimaginably random, bizarre, violent insanity. I doubt there are words that can adequately describe it, but I think it's sufficient to understand that a person's mind is likely to engage in all kinds of distortions and intellectual acrobatics in its attempts to find context, meaning, some appropriate reaction to such things. The human mind being as complex as it is, any ideas and actions are possible, and every one of them, considering the circumstances, is to me understandable and forgivable. I suppose the point I've been driving at here is that I want you to understand that what happened to you and the actions you committed while in the craziness of war were perfectly understandable, and I think forgivable to any fair-minded, compassionate person. And I'll repeat that we all had a hand in putting you into those situations. I want to assure you that I myself forgive you for whatever you may have done. And I hope that you will forgive me for the part that I've played in this tragedy. But above all, you must forgive yourself for whatever wrong you think you committed. Forgiving yourself is the first step toward growing past what has happened. I'm sure you've resolved to never again do the things for which you feel so badly now. So take comfort in the fact that you are now a different, a more enlightened person. Of course, no longer being in a combat situation enables you to exercise much more control over your actions as well. Although what has been done cannot be undone. The lessons learned by those who have survived the experience and can get through their emotions can now be put to use for positive ends, such as educating both parents and children that war is not about glory, patriotism, and honor, but can be more accurately described as gore, insanity, and horror. It should not be entered into lightly without first understanding the ramifications for both the soldiers who fight wars and the people in whose country the wars are fought. Try to view life in a broader sense. Every one of us is capable of committing both good and bad acts. What distinguishes the degree to which each of us commits one or the other is determined by our personal chemistry, our upbringing, our personal experiences, the circumstances in which we find ourselves at any given moment, and an infinite number of other factors that can't even be perceived, I think it's safe to say that a person of even the best upbringing, healthiest body, strongest moral character would have a difficult time surviving what you've been through without doing some bad things or experiencing permanent changes to his humanity. Most of us were just lucky enough to have avoided what has happened to you. Getting through your issues is important both to you and to the rest of the world. Your experiences and the lessons you've learned from them can broaden everyone's understanding of what war really is and help prevent such future tragedies. But first, you must heal. And as you do, understand that I am there for you all the way. Just as for good or bad, I've been with you from the very beginning. Welcome home, son. I love you.